Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for Star Wars Clone Wars. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, didn't you already review that series last year? I reviewed Star Wars The Clone Wars, which was the 7-season series created by George Lucas and Dave Filoni. No, what I'm talking about here is the micro-series that aired on Cartoon Network in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and was created by Genndy Tartakovsky, the same guy who created Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack. I wanted to talk about this series for some time because this is no longer considered canon, but it is one of the single best things to come out of the Star Wars franchise, and definitely the most underrated. We all remember the 3D animated series that just ended last year, but this one, for a long time, was one of the best pieces of Star Wars animation to ever come out. It was considered a micro-series, which meant it only aired like 3-minute episodes right before Cartoon Fridays, or just in front of Cartoon Network's big high-profile shows. And I remember trying to watch these episodes when they aired, or at the very least try to TiVo them, or basically record them later on so I could watch them, but because they were only 3 minutes long, sometimes it would record soon after the episode started, or just cut off before it ended, and it was kind of frustrating to watch. But once it was made available on DVD, and when it was allowed to air in a longer block, then I got to see more of it, and it is just absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of great things that this series contributes to the Star Wars franchise. One, it brings in Genndy Tartakovsky, who's one of Cartoon Network's biggest players. And while Dexter's Laboratory is a great series as well, Samurai Jack is more based in visual storytelling than actual dialogue. And a lot of his Clone Wars microseries really does rely on visuals rather than dialogue. The storyboards do most of the storytelling, and a lot of the sounds that you hear are mostly from the excellent sound design from Ben Burtt that was used in the movies. The very first micro episode that I saw involved a group of ARC troopers who were sent behind enemy lines to try to sabotage this giant weapon so Republic forces could get into the city and win the day. And there are only 2 lines of dialogue in that episode. One from the clone commander who's leading the assault, and the other is from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's such a great piece of visual storytelling with no dialogue. You can see everything that's going on and understand it clearly. You get the mission that these clones are on. Because this series came out sometime after Attack of the Clones, there are aspects of that movie that carry over into this micro-series that don't really work. The relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker is just still very bratty. It's just not a very fun relationship where these two are just kind of bickering at each other. But thankfully, it's not as much as it is in Attack of the Clones. And most of the time when Anakin and Obi-Wan are together in this series, it's after Anakin has become a Jedi Knight and they look at each other as brothers and friends, not so much master and student. I should probably mention what actually happens in this series. So it pretty much takes place sometime after the Clone Wars has started. Anakin is still a Padawan, and he's Commander Skywalker. There are several small stories that take place in this series. There's an attack on a city led by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin. There's a sequence on Dantooine led by Mace Windu, which, if you ever want to see how Mace Windu can be a badass without a lightsaber, that sequence right there is... it's the chef's kiss. Mwah. I mean, I think Mace Windu as a character is the poster child for everything that's wrong with the Jedi Order. But that sequence where he is punching super battle droids without his lightsaber and just using the Force to crush them is fantastic. There's a sequence involving Kit Fisto helping the Mon Calamari. We get the introduction to Asajj Ventress, who would become a major player in Star Wars The Clone Wars. We get the introduction to General Grievous, who is very much overpowered in this series. Some people say he's overpowered, and I imagine some others would say that when he gets to Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars, he is drastically nerfed. In this series, he is depicted as this super badass, very threatening. Any Jedi that he comes across is murdered instantly, or at the very least, they are critically injured. He's just tough all around. And it actually gives us an answer to why he has that cough in Revenge of the Sith, that It's because during the assault on Coruscant, where General Grievous kidnaps the Chancellor, and that leads into the opening of Revenge of the Sith. He encounters Mace Windu really briefly, but rather than engaging in a lightsaber duel, Mace Windu uses the Force to crush General Grievous's chest, and that pretty much changes Grievous's condition until he gets killed in Revenge of the Sith. I kind of like this super badass, indestructible General Grievous, but I will admit that this version of General Grievous doesn't work in the other series. He doesn't work in Revenge of the Sith or the Clone Wars, where those series are more based on plot and character development, whereas this series is just more about visual action and just unbelievably badass moments. Now, as for the series not being considered canon, I would like to think that there are a few elements that you could consider canon in this series. Everything that leads up to General Grievous's introduction, I think you could say is canon. I think later on, when we get to the invasion of Coruscant that leads into Revenge of the Sith, that entire sequence could be considered canon, because in Season 7 of the Clone Wars, when we get to the Siege of Mandalore arc, we're just told that Grievous attacked Coruscant and kidnapped the Chancellor. We don't actually see those events happening, so I'm willing to bet that the big invasion of Coruscant in this micro-series is canon. I hope it is, because that would be fantastic. I don't have that much to say in terms of criticisms. Most of the stuff that I have to critique about this series are actually just fanboy nitpicks, so if I'm gonna pull a comic book guy from The Simpsons, I don't get why the Separatists are using Geonosian starfighters during the big space battle that's being led by Anakin at the beginning of the series. I don't like how in Anakin's original Jedi starfighter, he has an astromech droid named R4 as well. Like, you couldn't come up with another droid there, or you couldn't use R2-D2? Well, I guess he's with Senator Amidala, but whatever. There's some other nitpicky stuff that really I don't think is worth arguing about. If I had an actual criticism, something that I just am not a huge fan of, it would be Matt Lucas's voice performance as Anakin Skywalker. I will admit that Matt Lucas sounds more like Hayden Christensen in the movies compared to Matt Lantern, who pretty much made an original Anakin Skywalker performance. But because Matt Lucas sounds more like Hayden Christensen, you still get that really bland, disinterested, just shallow performance that Hayden Christensen gave in the prequels. Matt Lantern at least gave Anakin Skywalker a lot more personality, and he's just more charismatic in the 3D series, not so much the 2D series. But that's about it. If you've never seen this micro-series before, I highly recommend that you do. It's the most underrated piece of Star Wars media out there, and it also doesn't require that much dedication to watch. It's a little over 2 hours, and unlike the 3D series, which had 7 seasons and a movie, there's no real filler, there's no unnecessary padding. Everything in this micro-series is worth checking out, and it's just very impressive that Genndy Tartakovsky told this story with more visuals than actual dialogue. It's absolutely fantastic, has some of the most beautiful and yet insane and over-the-top Star Wars action that you will ever see in animation form. So as a rating, I'd say it's worth seeing in your lifetime. Now, last year when I reviewed the 3D series, I said get off your ass and go see it right now. I know a lot of people would take the 2D series over the 3D series, but the thing about the micro series here is that while it's fantastic and definitely action-packed, it really doesn't hit me on an emotional level the same way the 3D series does. So that's why I'm giving this a lower rating than I did the 3D series, but still, it's absolutely worth checking out. The entire micro-series was just released on Disney Plus earlier this year, and it's split into 2 parts. So if you have Disney Plus and you're a big Star Wars fan, you absolutely have to check it out. And if you've seen it already, then you have to watch it again, because it is that good. And there you go, that's my review for Star Wars Clone Wars, the 2003 micro-series. I wanted to try to get this review up last week for May the 4th, but I had my Phantom Menace watch party going on that day, and I'm like, you know, that's probably good enough, and I'm enjoying The Bad Batch. So instead, I just decided to push the review to this week, and plus, last week was really a shit show for my personal life, so I just needed a break from making videos. But this actually worked out, because last Wednesday I did my Attack of the Clones watch party, and tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on either YouTube or Twitch, I'm going to be doing my Revenge of the Sith watch party, so I hope you check that out. But first, I want to thank you for watching this review, and I want to know what you guys think about the Clone Wars micro-series. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Star Wars Clone Wars. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button down below. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, go check out my Twitch channel, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, and take care of yourselves.